Hello there, coffee people. This is Liam from Home Coffee Solutions, and today I'm presenting the La Specialista Prestigio. Think of this as the La Specialista V2. This is a new machine to the market of semi-automatic espresso machines with integrated grinders. It's aimed at entry-level users jumping into espresso for the first time, and it does a pretty darn good job because it takes out a lot of the guesswork from the espresso making preparation and has a number of welcome revisions over the original La Specialista that simply make it a better machine making better coffee. Let's jump right in. For those who aren't familiar with the La Specialista series machines, you should know that these were released a couple years ago with a big prioritization on cleanliness, convenience, and especially ease of use. They were very well known for having their integrated tamping station, which is something that we saw on the Breville Oracle. Now, normally the tamping process is a key aspect of making a good cup of espresso, but also comes with a few liabilities. Now, variables in tamping pressure could change the extraction of your coffee, so the integrated tamper takes that guesswork out. But that's not taking into account one of the biggest quality of life improvements, and that's the cleanliness. On most integrated grinder machines, it's hard not to spill coffee grounds all over the drip tray, so you get a bit of a coffee sludge on the surface that you have to clean periodically. But even worse, you would take your portafilter, your tamper, you'd put it on your countertop, and you'd press down the coffee. It's very hard not to make a mess. So if you're a clean person and you like to wipe up after you brew, the new La Specialista Prestigio is extremely clean. The interface on La Specialista Prestigio looks intimidating, but it's pretty easy once you wrap your head around it. Over here we have a power button, which I'll mention it's ready to go quite quick, but I wouldn't recommend brewing right away. I would do a rinse cycle, purge it. Over here you have dosage, which is the amount of coffee that goes into the portafilter. You have a 2x button to double the dosage for a double shot, a dedicated button for temperature, which is one of my favorite things. If you brew light roast coffees, you want a higher temperature, switching that easily is a nice feature. Now, Los Specialistas have something called active temperature control. This is essentially extremely similar as other machines which have dedicated temperature control called PID. Now, while you don't have the very specific degree temperature control that you have with some machines which have a digital temperature display, I do think that the ease of use and the simplicity of the levels and the ranges that De'Longhi is posing makes sense for the general demographic that they're targeting with this machine. In the center of the machine is an OK button, which starts the beverage preparation. Over here is the dedicated hot water spout button, signified with kind of a T icon, so you can just click a button and activate the hot water. And then there's a My Coffee function. Just to quickly explain this, there's volumetric control on different beverages, which is very convenient if you have, let's say, a specific size glass that you'd like to use. Notably, the cup clearance on here is also quite high, so you can fit abnormally large glasses compared to some other machines like, let's say, the Gaggi Classic. There's also a nice little tray here that allows you to get closer to the portafilter with your glasses. It really depends on the kind of glass you're using. Generally speaking, this is used to minimize splashback, but it's probably fine either way. Another nice little thing to note is that the drip tray actually has a grate instead of a flush metal surface like some other machines. So that means that if you have like, let's say, coffee debris, it's more likely to go into the drip tray rather than sitting on top of it. Something that we see with some Breville machines is there's a bit of a coffee sludge that occurs. There's a beverage selector on the left side, so if you wanted to do Americano, it'll brew an espresso and then it'll put hot water via the dedicated water spout, all with volumetric control. We also have the ability to do a long coffee, so if you were to do, let's say, a cafe crema or a coarse grind and put a lot of water over it, you'd have something that's kind of similar to a single serve system. However, I'd always recommend an Americano because it's less bitter, there's less tannins, and you're going to just get a smoother experience overall. A very common critique of the previous generation La Specialista was, well, if you're prioritizing convenience, why wouldn't you go to a fully automatic espresso machine? And there's a very easy answer for why you shouldn't. Because a fully automatic machine with quick succession between milk steaming, coffee brewing that has dual heating systems is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars more expensive. A lot of fully automatic single heating system machines can take up to 40 seconds for the steamer to activate. And on top of that, the steam pressure can be very weak, meaning that making a cappuccino or a latte can be a very cumbersome process, especially when you consider multiple drinks in quick succession. Anyone who's used a single heating system on an espresso machine or fully automatic would know that it takes a long time to transition, and generally the steaming power isn't as comparable to a dual heating system machine. So now with the La Specialista Prestigio, not only are you getting the guts of a much more expensive fully automatic machine, but you're getting convenience, ease of use, cleanliness, and most importantly, a better cup of coffee. And this goes for it compared to both the previous generation La Specialista, but also all fully automatic machines in general. La Specialista Prestigio, the new iteration, now comes only with single-walled, non-pressurized filter baskets. Now, pressurization does a very good job pulling through what people love about the taste of coffee, and that's to do with the caramelization and a bit with the roast. Non-pressurized single-wall baskets and a fine grind size on your grinder pulls in more complex flavors into the coffee, and that's one of the reasons why the specialty coffee market loves non-pressurized and often hates on pressurized systems. It's not going to be an enormous change for some users, especially if they're having dark roasts predominantly. But for people who prefer light roast coffee and more complexity and interesting notes in their flavor, it's a better cup of coffee. On the Prestigio, De'Longhi has done away with the Panarello wand and have introduced a new latte art triple hold steam arm. Now, while this might seem more intimidating to use, it's actually better for a microfoam that encapsulates the coffee for a good mouthfeel and is the only thing that's really suitable for latte art. The steam wand is also double-walled, fully insulated. This is fantastic because it serves two good purposes. It reduces the chances of you burning yourself on your steam wand if you're not careful and you accidentally touch it. And it also provides a cooler surface so that the milk doesn't cake to the latte art wand. This means that it's a much easier wand to clean than a traditional semi-automatic machine, which is not insulated. Let's talk about the grinder. Now, we know that with the non-pressurized single-wall filter baskets, De'Longhi has achieved a much finer grind size. Interesting enough, we only see that there are 8 levels of grind size on the machine. As an espresso user, I saw this as a big drawback because you don't have as many steps in the grind adjustment to make minute changes in the extraction. So if you go under extracted, sometimes coffee gets sour. If you go over extracted, sometimes it's too bitter. Doing minute adjustments on the grind size is usually essential for achieving that right sweet spot. So naturally, seeing 8 steps in the grinder is a bit alarming, but I noticed something very different about the La Specialista compared to other machines: shot consistency. In fact, it was extremely hard to pull a bad shot. I think this is in part thanks to some new technology that they put under the hood of their machine, which I think is extremely important, special to talk about, and something that I recognize De'Longhi doing some pretty good innovation on, and that is its grinder is speaking to its brewing mechanisms. It's doing things like dynamic pre-infusion in calculation with the dosage that's producing. I'm really happy to see this feature because it's showing advancements in integrated grinder machines and really taking advantage of how a grinder can really respond to the brewing mechanisms, not just something there to save space or convenience. Talking about the look for a moment, the Prestigio undoubtedly is one of the better looking machines in the market and is similar to that of maybe a vintage Italian race car. The machine is encased in a stainless steel body with plastic accents. The portafilter is a mixture between plastic and metal. So we see mixture of materials all throughout the body. This might be totally fine with some people, but might bug others. Now, with some traditional, more expensive Italian machines, we see metal throughout the body, but with fully automatics in contrast, we also see plastic. And I think as innovation moves forward, a lot of plastic is showing up in more espresso machines. This doesn't appease some people, and I think it gives some worries about the overall build quality. But one thing I want to highlight is that the Prestigio has one of the longest warranty periods out of any of the espresso machines in its price range. It comes with 2 years by default and then 1 year after registering. So 3 years in total. De'Longhi also has one of the widest networks of authorized service centers across North America and is reputable for providing replacement parts to machines that are over 10 years old. In contrast, other manufacturers close off the repairs to only be done through them and then very quickly discontinue parts. Ethically, I really like how De'Longhi has given their customers the right to repair their machines and provided a good longevity on the parts and potential servicing that a machine might require years down the line. I hope more manufacturers follow suit in this kind of practice. So this concludes our video for today, but if you want to learn more about the product, you can click the link below in the description. Otherwise, feel free to ask us a question in the comments section, and if you feel so inclined, we'd appreciate if you subscribe to our channel. Take care and happy brewing!